making sure that we are live. Let me check for the notification. And then we can get started. That's interesting. Why is it I don't see the notification? I don't see the notification popping up, and it's public. So why am I not getting the notification? Interesting. But let's see if we're actually live. And then we can get started. It says we're live, but I haven't received the notification. Okay, there it is. Wow, it would take a whole minute for the notification to come over. A whole minute for the notification to come over. But I haven't received. All right. Okay, I got the notification, so I know that it's working. All right, so let me make sure. Let me see if it's okay. So I'm live there too, and let me see if I'm live here too. All right, cool. So I'm live on 3 platforms, and I am going to start right now. So I'm going to talk about why I don't celebrate Halloween. And what caused me to really decide not to celebrate most of these kind of ritualistic celebrations. So, but before I get into that, I am going to talk in terms of when I think in terms of religion and the practices that religious people have and the religious dogma that is spewed on people that are non-religious like myself. I'm called a devil worshiper, a demon, an atheist, whatever name that they decide that they want to throw on me. They come up with all kind of ad hominems to blast me or people like me. Now, generalizing whatever religion that someone practices, they think that they have the authority to relegate that person that don't practice their religion or don't practice any religion at all, relegate them to being some kind of monster. And this is the common dogma that I've heard over the years. And I haven't been really in religion for a very long time. And I've explained to many people that, hey, the reason why I don't want to be in any religion is because I feel comfortable being able to flow and float through any type of friendships or colleagues or associate that I may have. When they have their functions and I'm invited, they don't have to worry if I'm a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, Buddhist, shamanist, or whatever other kind of religion that's out there. There are hundreds of them. So I don't practice any religion. But why is it that these people that practice their religion then decide that they're going to practice Halloween? Isn't Halloween a practice of witchcraft or practice of demonization? Think about it. It is the one time of the year where everybody, no matter what skin color, what culture, what background, what religion, they put on costume and cosplay as somebody else or something else. Right? So they justify this by saying that it is for fun and that they're doing it for the kids. But just think of the mantra and the words that goes along with it. Trick or treat. Meaning that if you don't comply with giving a trick, with giving a treat, a trick is played on you. And that trick might be very detrimental to you. Right? So let me play this. So this is spooky, scary skeleton EDM track. So just listen to those words that the song said. Right? Your fate is going to be sealed if you don't provide a treat. I remember when I was growing up, and I'm going to get into why Halloween is one of the worst nights for me, and how I almost lost my life. Now, when people, especially religious people, I'm talking to you, right? Not all of you, but most of you, you will demonize someone for not practicing a religion. But then when Halloween comes, you practice Halloween. You go do the Halloween celebration, the Halloween ritual, and say it's for the children, right? I'm going to play this video clip here, and you can see people are saying Happy Halloween, and I'm wondering what's really happy about it, right? Because these very religious people, right? These very religious people would say a person is, when they're in their mode of religious indoctrination and religious spiritual embarkment, they will call a person that's not a part of what they're embarking on or practice a witch. I say they're practicing voodoo. They castigate them in the most vile way. Why? Because they don't practice what they're practicing. All right. For some, religion is a ritual because you practice it every day. For some on Saturday, for some on Sundays. Just think about it. Just think about it. Right? Now, oh shucks, let me fix this. got to fix this. Make sure it's on monitoring. All right. Yes. So back at you. Well, something is in my eye. So I even watched a video today where obviously the president is out. He's at the White House and children are coming by and he's giving candy. It's a ritual that's just practiced. But let me play this video, and then after that, I'm going to talk about why I don't celebrate it and why it's one of the most deadliest night and deadliest experience for me back when I was 16. All right, let me play this.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah, I'm not scared of that.
They say you are what you eat. I must be a big orange bowl of fingertips.
Oh, shut up.
Do you see the trauma? Do you see the trauma? That's trauma, right? And they look at it as fun. But when something is so fearful that it makes you literally want to jump out of your body, and then you laugh it off because you're programmed to laugh it off, right? But it's actually traumatic. I think it's actually worse than going to watch a scary movie, right? Because with a scary movie, you know what you are going there for. You know what you're going there for. And you have the expectation that you are going to watch a scary movie, so you are going to be prepared to be frightened. But when you are frightened unexpectedly, it causes a certain emotional or certain chemical reaction in the body, right? Fight or flight. Fight or flight. Let's continue.
Cuidado!
Ooh. Ooh.
All right.
Friend, are you okay?
Oh, my goodness.
Jesus. Come closer. I will escort you to the shadow.
Do you see? Do you see? Let's just go back a second. Look at how fearful that guy was. You see that? Do you see that?
Oh, my God. And they got that on camera. Oh, my God.
Almost had a heart attack. Imagine someone with a heart condition going to deliver mail, or a family member coming by, and something like this trigger them to go into cardiac arrest. It's dangerous. I can't understand why we celebrate Halloween so potently. So potently. Right?
We're so sorry, skeletons, you're so misunderstood. You only want to socialize, but I don't think we should.
Now, I commend religious folks that don't celebrate Halloween. I know a few that don't. And I have much respect because they understand why we shouldn't be celebrating Halloween. You cannot, and I repeat this again a third time, you cannot worship two masters. All right? You cannot worship two masters. It's either you worship the God that you say that you go to your place of worship and worship that God, but you're going to take a break on the 31st of October to now practice or celebrate a day that's for the opposite of your God. How can you not understand the illogics in that? It makes no practical sense. All right? Let's continue and play a few more videos. And then I'm going to get into what happened to me when I was 16. And every day, every year, I relive that moment because it still resonates in my mind. Right? So let me play a few more of these videos and I come back and then I'm going to talk.
Happy Halloween.
We can either come here or we can go to my house if you don't want to have people over. There's a bee. No! Shut up! Shut up!
Do you see? Do you see?
Go. Yeah.
All right. So I think I played
Jim, come get it.
enough videos,
Get out.
right? I think I played enough videos. But let me pause this. Jump it back here. And all right. I jumped it back right there so you can see the literal fear that that young girl had experienced. Now, here goes for me. So when I was 16, my mom asked me to stay home because some reason she was not so happy with Halloween. She wasn't a big proponent of me going out or any of her children going out and celebrating Halloween. All right? She wanted us home. Now, 16, my friends are going out, right? And I decided that I would not obey my mom's orders. And they came and picked me up and said, hey, we're going to go bomb people's house with eggs or throw eggs at people. So I was like, really? Hey, my mom said I should stay home. Come on, let's go. She won't know. We will get back long before your mom get home from work. So now I decide, hey, I'm going to go along. So it was me, and everybody pretty much lived in the same neighborhood, right? It was me, Radcliffe, Dwight, and Neville. I was 16. Radcliffe was 17. Dwight was 17, and Neville was 17. All right, and we all went out. Right, back then, now it's called Miami Gardens, but back then it used to be called Norwood. And we all pretty much went to Norland Senior High. And when I was picked up, and then we went over to Neville's house, which was closer to Norland, which was on 12th Avenue. And we had a dozen eggs, and we drove down and we started throwing eggs out at people, and they were throwing eggs back at us, right? And I remember one at a time I picked up an egg to throw the egg and didn't realize that the window was up, and I threw the egg and it cracked, like it was leaving the to go outside because the window wasn't all the way up, and it hit and it broke and ran down on the outside of the window, and a little bit came in on the inside, but it went outside, right? And we were down to like 2 eggs when we realized that we needed gas. All right, so we threw those 2 eggs out at we threw those few eggs out, and they threw eggs back at us and hit the car that we were in, and the windshield got splattered with eggs, and we had to rinse it off, of course, spray the mist from the car and rinse it off. So we were out of eggs now, and we decided that we're going to go get gas, and then we're going to go back to Neville's house and get more eggs, because by this time it was like maybe around 7:45, 8 o'clock. And so we went to the gas station, and at that time Hyundai just came out with their car, and they had so many, because it was a very inexpensive car. I think you could get one at the time for like $7,000 or somewhere under $10,000, right? Fully loaded car. And we went to the gas station, and a group of boys, our age group, confronted us and asked us. They were like, they used the terms, there goes those niggers, if you understand what I'm saying, those niggers, right? And I don't want to say that word. And they came up to us and started harassing us, and we're telling them, no, it wasn't us. We weren't on that side where you're coming from, right? They were coming from 7th Avenue, and we were on 12th Avenue. So we never went over to 7th Avenue. We were just in Neville's neighborhood, right? Actually, some of the people that threw eggs at us were Neville's neighbors from down the street, right? So we never made it over to 7th Avenue. We were out of the dozen eggs long before that. We went to the gas station, though, which is midway between 12th and 7th Avenue. And when those guys came over, they came to and harass us. And they were armed to the T, right? And one of them gun-butted me. One of them gun-butted Ratcliffe, who was the driver, right? And the other one punched Dwight in the face, and another one punched Radcliffe in the face. And Neville got punched, but it didn't hit him in the face. It hit him like towards, it missed his face and hit him, I believe, on his shoulder. And we jumped in the car. Radcliffe said, "Come on, let's go, let's go." And we jumped in the car. And Radcliffe erratically drove towards them. Not to hit them, but to get away because they were in the roadway for leaving the gas station. That's the only way we could leave the gas station, right? But they took it as a threat, I assume, and they opened fire on us. They opened fire on us. And they sprayed the vehicle. Now, mind you, we weren't the ones that hit them with egg or threw eggs at them. And they sprayed the vehicle. Here's how that works. What happened next? We were able to make it over to Neville's house and pulled up in front of the house, right? And I can remember feeling my leg just felt heavy, weird, right? But when the bullets were going off, because I always watch these TV shows, and they said, I always see when they're firing guns, people tuck their heads between their legs and go in a ball. So I was right behind Radcliffe. Radcliffe was the driver, and I was right behind Radcliffe, and Neville was sitting beside me, and Dwight was in front of him. So Neville got hit in the shoulder, right? And Dwight, the bullet passed through and touched his ears. The two that got the most hurt was myself and Radcliffe. Now, because I tucked my head between my leg, the bullet that was meant for the back of my head went through the front seat and right through the front seat, through Radcliffe's lungs and out his chest. Right? So that bullet went through him. I got saved because I was smart enough, I remembered enough reflex, and I tucked my head between my leg. However, when we got over to Neville's house and we all got out of the vehicle, I couldn't walk. I fell to the ground. My leg was super heavy, right? Radcliffe was on the ground bleeding out, right? Blood coming through his mouth, because remember, he got shot through his lung. So he was only operating on one lung. So blood gushing out of his mouth and out of his chest. And I have a gaping hole in my leg, right? And my back was just burning. This is on Halloween when I was 16, many moons ago, right? So they call fire, they call the rescue, they call paramedics, and police came, and they realized that I'm on the ground now, and I'm telling them I'm feeling weird. I feel like I'm going to faint, and I can't move. Radcliffe is bleeding out, and they realize that they need to get us to the hospital. So they sent for an emergency helicopter. Luckily, the helicopter landing pad wasn't too far away, and they came and loaded both myself and Radcliffe onto the helicopter, and they flew us to Miami Beach, Mount Sinai Hospital, right? And they were able to save Radcliffe's life, right? They went in and did immediate emergency surgery, and why Radcliffe was able to live was because the bullet went in and out. So it didn't stop in his body. Had it stopped in his lung, he would have been a goner. All right? Now, even though I was shot in my leg, right? And later on I found out in my back as well. The bullet that went in was from a modified pump rifle, and it was a .357 bullet. How they did it, we don't know. However, the bullet went into my main artery in my leg, my right leg. I still have the mark right now on my leg, and the bullet is still in my leg. Right? It's a big bullet, about this big, sitting in my thigh. Right? And when they took me and put me on, they brought me in on the gurney and they put me on the emergency table, and they do an X-ray, put me in a, I believe it was an MRI machine, and they X-ray me because they wasn't feeling the bullet. And I'm telling them I'm feeling funny, and I started throwing up, and it was like something else is going on. Let's do a quick emergency scan on his body. And when they did an emergency scan on my body, they realized that the bullet is no longer in my foot. It's not in my leg. The bullet is now in my belly. Why? Because it went into my main artery and started traveling. Right? So they said they need to find a way to get this bullet to stop. So they started putting hoses in my nose, in my throat, because they know that I'm going to vomit and they need to be able to control the vomiting. They put a hose up my penis, right? And they put needles in my arms. So had both of my arms had needles in it, right? Needle in my leg, right? And they somehow got a needle in my belly. I had needles everywhere, I believe. And they had to keep me awake. I couldn't go asleep. They couldn't sedate me. The reason why they could not sedate me is because they need for me to be able to tell them where I'm feeling the tension. So with that, I started vomiting. I started peeing. And I couldn't understand why. And they started tracking the bullet. The bullet was heading towards my brain. Right? So they did something called reverse polarity. Right? That's what the doctor told me, where they're going to get the blood to go backwards to push the bullet down. Right? Because they can't go in and grab the bullet fast enough. So they're going to find a way to, so they started doing something. They hooked me up to a machine, and the blood is going through the machine and going back in me. Right? So it's coming out of my lower extremities and going back in my upper extremities. So the blood is going in. So what they were doing is just causing me to vomit. I'm nauseous, and they're like slapping me, tapping me, keeping me awake, because they had to get this bullet. Eventually, they realized from a scan, they constantly was running this machine over me, right? And they saw the bullet heading towards. The bullet was somewhere here, and I'm telling them I'm feeling something in my neck. And they went on hyper motion in order to help the bullet move down. Whatever they were doing got the bullet to move opposite direction, moving the blood through the machine and back inside of me, from my lower extremities and back inside of me. And the bullet went down. But when it went down, it didn't go back towards where it was going. It started going towards my heart, right? So they made my heart palpitate. They did something to make my heart palpitate, where I'm feeling so weird, like I'm going to have a heart attack. It just, the way I was feeling is different. And I'm vomiting at the same time. So they're using suction vacuum and sucking out vomit and waste from my mouth. And I'm peeing at the same time. Right? All kinds of things are happening to my body. And they said, we have to be vigilant. We have to get this bullet back down, because if we stop, he's going to die. The bullet is going to go to his heart. And they were able to get the bullet to move back down, right back into that artery, right? So now the bullet is going back down, and they're still doing their what they call a reverse polarity or reverse blood polarity, right? And now they have this long stent or whatever with a 3-prong hook on it, and they pushed it in the hole in my leg, right? And their goal was to it had a camera on it, so they're monitoring it while they're pushing it in my leg. So it's going down in the hole of my leg towards where the bullet enter my artery, right? So when they got there and got the bullet, and coming out, the bullet slipped out and lodged right between my muscle, right? So the muscle laps over like 3 times like this, right? Something like kind of like this, right? I hope you can see it. So the muscle lapped over, and the bullet jumped out and jumped right between there, right? And because the muscle was swollen from me being shot, the muscle was swollen, they did not want to go in and try to retrieve the bullet. So what they told me and told my mother is that they have to leave the bullet in, and the bullet should work itself out when the swelling goes down. But what happened is that the swelling went down and locked the bullet into the 3 parts, right? So it swelling went down and capsulate the bullet in my thigh, and so the bullet is still in my thigh since I was 16, right? Now they released that this happened on the 31st. I believe it was a Saturday, right? And I was in hospital from Saturday after 12, somewhere around there, or somewhere 11, until I was there Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and they released me from the hospital on Tuesday. Radcliffe was already home. They released Radcliffe on Monday. But they had to keep me in the hospital to monitor to see if the bullet is going to stay or the bullet is going to do something else. Right? So when they let me out on Tuesday, they sent me home and they said, hey, you need to relax and let the swelling go all the way down, and then you can start using the crutches. So they sent me home with crutches, right? And Wednesday morning now, right? I have a high pain threshold, high pain tolerance. Like this is kind of funny, but sometimes when I get hurt or injured or anything like that, I would press the part where I got injured. I would make it pain because it feels kind of good to me. I don't know, that's kind of weird. Some people are like that. I don't know. I think it's probably some kind of I think there's a word for it. I just don't know the word right now. However, the doctor told me, hey, relax, rest, and don't try to go to school this week. Wait and go to school Monday of the following week. Me now, my mom went to work and told me to relax, and I had my crutches. I went outside and I let the air out on my bicycle because I'm determined I am going to stretch my leg. They did their thing at the hospital on Saturday, monitor to make sure I was okay on Sunday and Monday, and released me on Tuesday. So by this time, the swelling had went down significantly. So I released the air from the tire, and I I sat on it, and I tried to pedal forward, but the pain was so excruciating that I couldn't pedal forward. So what I did, I pedaled backwards, right? I pedaled backwards, and every time it got to my right leg, it was hard, it was stiff, but I pushed through it, and I pedaled backwards, and I kept on doing that, and I was on the bicycle for a long time. And then I got so fatigued that I went inside, I lay down, fell asleep. And after I fell asleep, I woke back up, and I went back out maybe around 6 p.m. and I tried it again. But this time I was able to pedal forwards, right? It hurt. I mean, it hurt. The pain was excruciating, but I was resilient and I worked through it. And this was Wednesday. And Thursday morning, I woke up and I said, Mom, I want to go to school. And she said, no, the doctor said to stay home. And she said, if you had listened to me, you wouldn't be going through this right now. Right? And I got dressed and I said, I want to go to school. And she didn't want me to go to school. So I actually went outside early enough, and I hopped with my crutches, and I went to the bus stop where they pick up all the children. Normally I didn't go to the bus stop because some it would be the Radcliffe or Dwight that would be driving and pick me up and we go to school. But because I was determined to go to school, I went to the bus stop, which was maybe around a half a mile away, right? And I hopped and I got to the bus stop. The bus picked us up at 6:45, and we had to be at school at 7:30. And I hopped on that bus, and they were asking what happened to me, and I was, of course, explaining what happened to me. And I went to school. No one expected for me to be in school, not even the principal. The guidance counselor, Mr. Everett, came and spoke with me. A few other people came and spoke with me, right? And I was there at school. Now, I went back to school on Friday. And when I went back to school on Friday, guess who I saw? I saw one of the boys that was beating us up at the gas station on Saturday, on Halloween, the 31st of October, right? And I went to the office and I told him, I said, hey, I saw one of the guys that was beating up us at the gas station. And stupidly, he was bragging that he shoot up some guys, but he didn't know one of the guys or a few of the guys that he shoot up went to the school. That was me, Radcliffe, Dwight, and I don't think Neville. I think Neville was going to. I think Neville was in the military by this time. He had went off because he was in the reserves, right? And I went and I told the guidance counselor, Mr. Everett, and Mr. Everett went to the principal, and they said, if we get a yearbook and show you pictures, would you be able to pick him out? And I said, yes, I think so. And they brought the yearbook to me, and we went through it, and I picked him out. And then they called the police, and while he was in class, they came to class and arrested him. The idiot had his gun on him in his knapsack. So when they arrested him, and they kept us in the loop, like I made sure I was in the loop, and I found out that all of them, it was about 8 of them. Now here goes. One of them was 19. One of them was 18. One of them was 17. One was 12. One was 8. One was 10. And 2 were 14. Right? So apparently one of the 14-year-old is the one that shot me. Right? He had the pump rifle. Right? The one that shot Ratcliffe, he was the 18-year-old. Right? But here's, at the time he was 17. But he turned 18 within that week. And so when they arrested him, he was now an adult. And they gave him a plea deal to snitch. And they were able to arrest everybody. All 8 of them. And that's how comes I found out that the 14-year-old shot me. Mosquito. The 14-year-old shot me. And remember I said earlier that my back was burning. One of the 8-year-old, I should say, he had a buckshot gun and he fired it. And when he fired it, it went through the back window, and when it hit the back window, it exploded in my back. So it left shards in my back. So I had bullet shards all over my back. Right? And the doctor did not. They were working so much on my leg that they didn't even think about my back. So when I went for a follow-up visit and I told them about my back, they started looking and they saw that I had bullet shards in my back. And they said, we can try to take them out and see what happens, but we don't know if they're also glass because the back glass broke, so we don't know if there's also glass. So let it stay and work itself out. It's not too deep, but it's in parts of the muscles and parts of the flesh, and it's going to take a while to plug them out. So let time goes and it work itself out. Over the years, one by one would come out. The last one came out when I was, I believe, 46. The last one came out, right? And was it 46? Yeah, I think it was 46. The last one came out. And let me tell you, it burned so much. Each time they come to the surface and I help to try to pry them out with a tweezer or my finger, right? Or sometimes I'm sitting on something and my back is scratching me and I scratch like this and it pops out. It burns. So from the time I was 16 and the last one came out at 46, right underneath my shoulder blade. Right? So that's why I don't celebrate Halloween, because we were almost killed on Halloween because of a mistaken identity, because we had the same color car, same make and model. And they thought we were the ones that threw eggs at them. So I will never celebrate Halloween. Not only because of that, but because I understand the history of Halloween. Halloween was a day in the past where they used to do sacrifices. And they used to do some vile things with those sacrifices. Look up Halloween and what the kind of rituals that they used to practice. Right? They used to practice. And then they fold it into some kind of celebration. They add candy, and the merchants make it a thing to do, a rite of passage. As a child, you celebrate Halloween. But think about it: you're dressed in witch costume. You're dressed in costume that look like you're a monster. Some dress like police officers. Some dress like voodoo dolls. Some dress like a scarecrow. But just think about it. Why would you celebrate Halloween when the Halloween is such it's a contentious topic for a lot of people? So for that reason, I will not celebrate Halloween. And I spoke to my daughter about it. She knows how I feel. And she knows I don't practice a lot of these rituals because they don't make logical sense. All right? So there we go as to why I don't celebrate Halloween. Right? Because it is not something that none of us should be doing. But hey, have at it, horse. If you feel like you're supposed to celebrate Halloween, you worship a god that's against these kind of practices, and then you actually go out there and defile your commandments. Doesn't matter what kind of religion you practice, you defile your belief system by practicing something of a demonic origin. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Right? So, I hope you enjoyed my story. I hope it make you understand why Halloween is one of the most dangerous nights of the year, and why personally I don't celebrate it, and I will never celebrate it. Right? And if I'm with someone that practice Halloween, I will be really against it, and she could never get me to go out and practice Halloween. I would much rather end my relationship with her rather than practicing something that I know is wrong. All right? So on that note, my friends, love, respects, right? One love and respects. And keep yourself safe, especially on a night like this. It's probably late out there right now, and they're probably still trick-or-treating. And of course, it's Friday night, so they're going to be having a Halloween. They're going to be having costume parties. They're going to be having costume club nights. So a lot of celebration is going to be going on tonight, right? So if you're out there, despite how what my thoughts, my beliefs, and my decision not to practice Halloween, if you're out there and you're doing it, be safe. Whether you're going to a house party, a club, or something, be safe, right? Because if someone does something harmful and they're in a mask or covered up in a certain way, it's going to be hard to know who exactly did that crime, right? So be safe, be careful. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, right? And I always say in closing, question everything, because if you don't, you may fall for anything. think and say. Have a good day.